Overseas now, and Vladimir Putin continues to assure both the world and his own country that Russia is doing everything right in their war, or special military operation, as he calls it, against Ukraine. But even those with the most basic knowledge of global warfare can see very clearly that the whole thing has been an unmitigated disaster from day dot. Of course, Russia has bombed, wounded and killed countless Ukrainians, committed some appalling atrocities, but it's failed to do the one thing necessary to win a war, and that is to break the spirit of the people you hope to defeat. Sergei Markov was once a close advisor to the Russian president, and I wanted to talk to someone who knows Putin, what makes him tick, and how likely it is that he'll turn nuclear. Sergei, thank you so much for your time. Let's start on the man himself. What makes Putin tick? What motivates him?
Most important that Vladimir Putin is officer. So he served to his country and to his nation. If fighting absolutely inevitable, you should start this fighting first. That's why he started the war in Ukraine, because he understood that absolutely inevitable it will happen in 1 year from this by initiative of United States and Kiev regime. His third motivation is that he respects very much ordinary people.
You say he is motivated by the ordinary man. A lot of ordinary men have been killed in this war so far. What do you say to that?
His motivation for sure was exactly such. I know it's very well, to save lives of the ordinary people.
So why did he send troops in at all? When you look at the United Nations Charter and how you can justify a war, self-defence first and foremost, I can't fathom how Russia was under threat from Ukraine. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, it's very easily. Vladimir Putin could see that Ukraine doesn't exist as an independent country. Now it's occupied by United States of America and Britain. Of course, it's occupation in the style of 21st century, when the number of the flags of Ukraine much more higher than before American occupation. But nevertheless, everybody understands that it's occupation and that Vladimir Zelensky not able to make any independent decision about Ukraine policy. All make decision making by United States. Ukraine are an extremely militarized country, and it was preparation for the starting war on Donbass and Crimea in 2023. It means half of the year before the next presidential election in Russia, on which Vladimir Putin, of course, could be re-elected again because of his very high popularity in the country.
Do you genuinely believe that was going to happen, that Russia was under threat of an invasion from Ukraine backed up by the US? I mean, this war does nothing for America. You can't genuinely believe that America is happy with the situation right now.
Yes, United States, not maybe America in general, not American people, but establishment of United States very much consolidated. And I would ask you a very simple question. You know, we are Australia. Your language is English. The language of Ukraine, people in Ukraine, Russian language. 80% of people on the street speak Russian language. And this language is prohibited in the education system. This language is prohibited in the media system. How people in Australia will react if Australian government will prohibit English language in education system and in media? How they will
but
react?
You have to respect a country's right to lead and to rule in their own right. You can't make a decision on behalf of Ukraine because you don't like it. You can't invade because you don't like that. It doesn't make sense to me.
No. It's situation with Russian language is very good example that Ukraine is not democratic country, because people in Australia who speak English language cannot democratically support prohibition of English language. Same people in Ukraine. cannot support democratic.
If that's the issue, then your response must be proportionate. That's another part of the UN Charter, and the response from Russia was not proportionate. Can I ask you, sir, will Putin use nuclear weapons?
No, the main, I will answer this question. The civil war continued in Ukraine all these 8 years. If you take an account, you should understand that Putin sent troops not to start a war, but to stop war. And about nuclear weapons, Russia not intention to use nuclear weapons, but mostly dangerous situation if Joe Biden will decide to use tactical nuclear weapons on the Ukrainian territory for the blaming Russia to do it. You may know that Kyiv regime, which is under control of the United States, 2 months they're shelling Zaporozhye atomic power station. It's nuclear terrorism. And they claim all these 2 months that Russia army shelling Zaporozhye atomic power station, which is controlled by Russian army. Just 100% lie. It's just, we couldn't even imagine that such lie could be, happen. You may know that United States exploded Russian gas pipeline Nord Stream to the Germany, and they just blame it's Russians who exploded this gas pipeline. You may know that 8 years pro-American Kyiv regime shelling Donetsk and other cities of Donbass and saying, look, they're killing themselves. Same tragedy could happen with tactical nuclear weapon. They like it. Your media support this American propaganda, and as a result, you're taking part of the moving the world to the using of the nuclear tactical weaponry.
No, I disagree with. I disagree with the propaganda. I think there have been so many different sources reporting on the ground from a lot of different countries that are exposing what Russia is doing. If you have evidence of other wrongdoing there, why aren't you releasing it? One of the biggest ways to win a war is through your public relations. Why aren't you releasing it? You're telling us all this stuff, but we're not seeing any evidence of it.
We have absolutely clear logic. Switch on your mind. You can imagine that Russian army cannot fire the territory of Zaporozhye atomic power station, which is under the control of Russian army. But nevertheless, your media is lying by, the thousands of disinformation and fake news about Russian army responsibility of this.
Okay, well, Sergei Markov will agree to disagree on many elements of that, but I do very much appreciate your time and thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.